It's the 20th Avenue podcast with your favorite podcaster, Tumisani Ngube. Yeah, and joining me today is none other than Boyson Mokone, formerly known as
Rude Boy.
Rude Boy.
Yeah.
And now is known as G-Wed.
That is how it is.
Yeah. So for those who don't know who G-Wed is, just briefly introduce yourself and just get straight to the point and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Boyson Mokone, formerly known as Rude Boy, the DJ Diplomatic, but now I'm called G-Wed. In short, G-Wed stands for God's Word. I carry the Word of God with me. The founder of an organization called Youth of Hope, Safe Haven organization. I'm a hip hop artist. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm an alcohol, drug, and substance use and abuse life coach. Yeah, that's who I am.
All right. I thought you were going to touch about the issues of drug abuse and stuff like that. But anyway, let me just ask you the question straight. You're a former drug addict.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Do you remember the time when you had your first joint, your first line, your first injection?
Yeah, I remember that vividly well. That was during my schooling days in 1994. And that is the year when I discovered my talent of music. That year I was a Form 2 student at Maikano Junior Secondary School. So growing up in a township in Gaborone called Old Naledi, there was too much activity, there was too much alcoholism. I grew up around that, and adding to the fact that I didn't have like a father figure that was close to me, like a father, like a blood father to me, you know. So I was just growing up with the wrong people at that time. But I don't think growing up where alcohol was freely sold and freely consumed was actually something that had to push me to do drugs and use alcohol. It's only that when I discovered my talent, I met people that influenced me into using marijuana at first, cigarettes, Black Label and Castle, that is alcohol. But I ended up using a drug called ecstasy. From 1994 up to the time when I finished my schooling, up to the year 2014. That is a period of 20 years using alcohol and ecstasy because it became the drug of choice. And as a music performer or as an artist, it always gave me a boost. It always gave me a boost, and I always felt good when I had it.
So, sorry to cut you off. So where were you getting this ecstasy? We usually think these things are only found in South Africa and stuff like that. So you mean to say like that there's a high level of drug trafficking in Botswana?
There is a high prevalence of drug trafficking. There is a high prevalence of drug use in the country. And when you look at the year that I'm talking about, 1994, the most common name or the most common drug by then, or the name that I usually heard being of drugs, was men drugs. But I had never seen men drugs. But I saw ecstasy. It was introduced to me to a guy who usually met me at the drinking hotspot in Old Naledi. So I used to rap along to music when it was playing. So this guy actually liked what I do. He befriended me. He was older than me and he was actually a guy from Nigeria. We became friends. Then there was a time when we were performing for the Maitisom Festival. Mm-hmm. So that is the time when this guy introduced to me multicolored particles. Like I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And actually they turned out to be ecstasy. Mm-hmm. No, he just told me, no, you can just have one of these and you're gonna feel good. And I can't deny that, you know, at first I wasn't the person that I used to be. You know, Time passed. After he gave me 2 or 3, time passed. I didn't feel good. I felt like I needed something when I had to do something, especially when I had to perform. So that's how it all started.
So
I never bought.
It's like something that you needed to boost yourself.
Yes, I never bought for approximately 2 to 3 months. He just gave me. So I got hooked, I got addicted. And that was the green light.
Okay.
And this time around now, when I felt like I needed something, I had to buy from him. And they were not coming out cheap. And look at this, I was a student by then. What do I have to do? I had to steal from home. I had to lie. I had to become a cheat. And that was one of the most bad things that I had ever done in my life. And actually, at home, they never knew what I was doing. I was too secretive about it. They only knew that I was drinking alcohol and I was using marijuana and using cigarettes.
Which is something which is normal in a township setup.
We may say it was normal, but the society, mostly in my country or in my community, we normalize abnormal things. How can it be normal for a young boy, for me at that time, who was going to school, being said to be normal while they take alcohol and cigarette? We just normalize abnormal things. We normalize abnormal situations.
Okay, so you get hooked up to the drug. Now it's 3 months down the line. Now you have to buy for yourself.
I had to buy now.
So who was your supplier? Was it still the Nigerian
It was still
guy?
the same guy.
So does it mean that like him giving you the drug for 3 months, it's a way of like promoting?
No, it was like initiation. It was like initiation. You know, drugs and alcohol and all these cigarettes and all these foreign things, they're too spiritual. You understand? They're too spiritual. Because you first die in the spirit.
Yeah.
You would be a working man but dead in the spirit. Your thinking capacity is limited. Your hygiene is limited. Your eating habits are limited. Your sleeping habits are limited. Everything about you is all in limitations. No matter how educated you are, you just can't think outside the box because you are contained within that box.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the experience? Now you're buying drugs for yourself now. Feeling like a man now, you're doing all the things.
Yeah, I felt mature. That is why now I decided not to go with my age groups. I was always surrounded by bigger guys. Because at the end, when they always give me money to buy stuff for them and stuff for that, I'll always keep change and stuff like that. So that is when I would always be able to pay maybe half for what I wanted. Maybe 2 or 3 tablets or stuff like that.
So in those 20 years, how much did you use to buy drugs?
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money because I remember when I got to Lady Mansina Secondary School, my Form 3, Form 4 and Form 5, I had taken a lot of stuff from my mama's house. You know, I was actually a hopeless situation to my family. The only son in my mama's family, 3 sisters, but I became the odd one out. I had nothing that I could call my own. I would be bought a nice sneaker, I would rather sell it. A nice jacket, I would rather sell it. I would steal phones at home. And you know, the money that I've used, I don't know. I can't comprehend that. Because after finishing my education, I worked for the Department of Road Transport and Safety. I remember getting a loan of 16,000 from Bayport. That was in 2011. And in that 16,000, the 15,000 was not mine. I was paying off the debit. I had to pay. And I just couldn't take it anymore because though I was working, I was a hopeless situation to my family. I was very hopeless. At times I became suicidal. I even designed a funeral program for myself because I always had this premonition with me. I knew that in the year 2016 I was going to die. With whose hand, I don't know, but I knew it. That was going to be on my birthday, 9th of August, and it was going to be on Tuesday. So I just wrote everything, I put everything like that. I was so suicidal, I was at times insomniac. My hygiene was not okay. I could disappear from home for so many days without anybody knowing where I was. But I just didn't care. It was all about me. Me, myself, and I. It was all about me. I never knew when my mama was praying for me. I never knew when she was crying because I was hating her. I just didn't care.
So, like, at first you're enjoying taking drugs, right?
Yeah.
And then how was it like with time? Like, because it's something that you're still enjoying. You know, you're not being used by the drugs just to take them to quench that feeling.
You know, when you are no longer in drugs, it doesn't mean that you are safe. There are so many triggers along the way. Either excitement, either being hurt, either anger. Anything can trigger that. So what happens is, what kind of people do you associate with in your time of recovery? What kind of a support do you get from home, friends, community, or society? And what kind of work are you indulged in? I decided to become a community developer through my life story, through all the campaigns that I do. I'm still a music artist. I try to preach better than what I preached while I was called rude boy, because I promoted sexual immorality, I promoted alcoholism and drug use, but now I decided to preach positivity. I remember when I was in jail in 1998, immediately after finishing my Form 5 in 1997. 98 I was put in jail because of a rape case that was hovering above my head. And the person that it was deemed that I had raped was actually a friend of mine.
Okay.
And that's when you would realize that hanging around with wrong people, you would always find yourself in the other side of town, wrong side of the law. But actually I was cleared of the case.
Okay.
I failed my Form 5 because of that, alcoholism and drug use. I went to jail because of alcoholism and drug use. I nearly killed my family because of alcohol and drug use.
How did you almost kill your family?
You know, I would always have this voice inside of me, you know.
Yeah.
That would tell me that my family hated me.
Yeah.
They were bewitching me. And one day I was so drunk and I had popped more than enough pills. And this voice came again. It said, no, just kill them. And I remember our house in Old Naledi was screen-walled, a high screen wall. There were some tenants living in some of the back houses.
Yeah.
You know, when I attacked my family, everyone ran out of the yard. Everyone.
How did you attack them?
I had a knife. I just wanted to kill them, yeah. The police came, they nearly shot me because of the violence that but I didn't know what kind of strength I had in me and where it came from, you know. I was so powerful. But at last the police got me, and there was one guy who decided to become my mentor, to become my counselor.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's still a police officer right now. He was a police officer.
Okay.
He just helped me, you know, to try and navigate through life, you know, trying to help me understand all the pros and cons of drug use and everything, because really there was nobody who could do that for me. He tried to help me, you know, really accept the condition that I was in, and to try and make my family realize that indeed I needed help.
So by then, your mom and sisters, did they know that you're taking something? Like drugs, like the hardcore drugs?
They were suspecting marijuana.
Okay, just marijuana and alcohol.
Yeah, but they didn't know the other side.
So how were you taking these drugs? Did you inject them or you sniff them? Or
No, I could just have that pill with water, with a beer, with any other ordinary drink.
So this is something that you can just buy, like you're buying weed or you're buying cigarettes?
Because it's a synthetic drug, MMDA. No, you don't just buy it like any other kind of drug because it's too secretive.
It's too secretive.
Yeah, so there was a how. This guy would always bring them to me. We mostly met at their shops.
Because there were no cell phones by then.
Huh?
There were no cell phones by then.
No, there were no cell phones.
Yeah, so
they were not
how did you schedule like your meetings and stuff?
I knew like he was a truck driver that was going across Botswana. So I knew.
So do you ever bump into this guy? Like
the last time I heard of him was during those Hutu wars in DRC, somewhere like that. Yeah, he got killed somewhere there.
Okay.
They were ambushed. Yeah.
Drug related?
I think he was a truck driver.
Okay.
And maybe they were going through the place and they were ambushed there. Yeah.
So your drug addiction, how did it like how was the relationship with your daughters now? Because your daughters when you're still like taking drugs. So
during the time when I was using drugs, I became a young father to 2 daughters. I became actually an absent young father. I was not there for them. Like I felt somebody owed me something. I felt I needed somebody to call dad. And they were calling me dad, but I just felt out of place. I just left. That was a very big responsibility, looking at the fact that I was not working and stuff like that. So there was a time when we had to go and perform in a place outside Gaborone. I found that my tablets were not enough because most of the days I would usually take 4. And that time I had 1. So I decided to break this one into a metal spoon. Then I added Vim. Vim is a cleaning detergent. The one that you use to clean your stoves with. It's a dry powder kind of detergent, and it has some salt-like crystals in it. So I was trying to make something that would make me feel more high and stuff like that. I was creating another type of drug that I don't know what its name is. So actually that's what nearly killed me. Okay. Because by the time I sniffed that thing, it affected my inner nostril. Okay. I ended up bleeding profusely and I was taken to Princess Marina Hospital for some days and I was losing a lot of blood. That's when a moment of reckoning came. I felt like, no, do you know what? If I make it out alive, I just have to get out of this. But it's not an easy thing. Without support, it's not an easy thing. Without counseling, it's not an easy thing. And being very far away from God, it will never be easy. So one day when I was in my deathbed at the hospital, I could see, because though I was tired, I could see and I could hear that my mom and some people, they were there, they were crying and they were praying for me. Yeah, and I made it out alive. In 2014, I decided not anymore. I visited the church that my mom and my sister went to. I heard a sermon that was speaking directly to me. And in 2014, I decided to have a prayer walk with some of my friends. We walked from Gaborone to Francistown, 165-kilometer prayer walk. And it was actually against road accidents along the A1. And that's a walk that made me to be this person.
So you think the absence of a father figure in your life, or like some say growing up in a certain condition, like did it have any influence to you, like leading to this drug use?
I think it did, because if he was there, or if he were there, he would have done something about it. My upbringing would have been different from when I was brought up by my mom only, because I got advice outside my mama's house. If my father was there, I would have got advice within my mama's and papa's house. So it's just the same as being brought up by the streets. So it might have had an influence. And the environment itself, it had an influence. And the kind of people that I associated with, it had an influence.
So where are these people that used to take drugs with? I know you might have also been buying them from other people. Where are they now?
Some are there, some are dead, but I decided to cut ties altogether. The most painful thing that you have to go through when you quit drugs, you just have to disassociate. Cut out all the friends that you know are influential in what you do, because you are brought together by one common goal, that is getting high together. So I just had to cut out. I had to move out of the place that I was brought up in. I even moved out again from the city completely to stay in another place called Muchudi, that is a village.
So any prominent figures within this drug avenues that you bumped into, that are using or that are selling, prominent figures?
Yeah, you know, these people are there. For as much as a dangerous game it is, prominent figures are involved in drugs, using and distribution, because it makes a lot of money.
It's a lucrative business.
It's a lucrative business. For as much as a country like ours, you know, we've been brought up like we are a secretive nation, you understand? And when we have this war against drugs, it's like we are beating a dead donkey. Because my belief is that there are some people in higher power that are involved.
So the feeling of being an addict now, how was it? The feeling of being an addict?
Oh, hey, it depends. You and I might have the same measure of the same substance, but our hallucinations and feelings are going to be different, and depends on what type of what day it is and what kind of a mood you are in, you know. But at times when I had my ecstasy, you know, I felt like I was on top of the world. I just felt so good. I would be the guy you'd love, you know. And actually that's where my musical gift would show, because I would be singing, I would be rapping all day long, because I would be that guy. But when I got out, I started reworking on myself, you know, and it's never an easy thing. It's never an easy thing. What you got to do is to protect yourself by just cutting out the negative ties, wrong associations. You don't have to visit those places that you actually visited or frequented when you are to use and stuff like that. You know, it's a very difficult thing.
Okay, so you've reached a stage where you're in your deathbed, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, did you like confess to the doctors, to the family that no guys, I was sniffing this and stuff like that, so I was taking drugs?
The secret was between me, God, and the devil himself. Because I felt like, no, I just can't tell nobody. I actually had a little prayer that was saying, God take me, because I knew a number of people that I lied to get money from them, to buy my drugs, all the wrong things. It just came flooding back to me like, you know what? I don't want to go back to these people. But miraculously, I made it out alive. But it took me time to tell my family that, do you know what happened? I was using this, or I was doing this. They only got to know when now I decided to become a person who was against drugs now through the formulation of my NGO called Youth of Hope Safe Haven Organization, through the change in my music.
So you've never been caught with drugs or using drugs by the law?
You know, I don't know how I evaded that, because I know sometimes I was a regular in the police cells because of the anger that I had. But I don't know why I would always be in the cells and they would miss out those
You'd be carrying drugs in the cells?
Yeah, sometimes.
And use them inside and feel good?
I'll just swallow a pill and use my saliva to ingest it.
Okay.
But I've never been caught of drug use or drug peddling. Yeah.
So what's your take? Do you think the use of drugs is not being taken seriously locally?
The use of drugs, more especially in our schools, is not taken seriously. I wonder, we are struggling alone. We the survivors, we the victors. We are trying to put a word out there. We are trying to raise awarenesses, but there is minimal support. Why is there minimal support? You would wonder, are these people involved now? We are discouraging them in their trade? I don't know. It's like we are fighting a losing battle alone. And even the schools at times, more especially the privately owned schools, they reject us because they feel their name or their names are going to be tainted. But they know the problem that is there. Even in our communities, our societies, there is too much denial, there is too much secrecy until at that time when maybe the brain of the victim is affected. That's when now these people would start to cry out loud. But like my mom, I've seen some strong women in our communities and societies that would actually stand up for their sons and daughters, that would stick by their guns to truly ask for help, try and find help.
What is help in such a situation? Like how can someone be helped?
We have organizations and bodies like Botswana. We have organizations like mine, Youth of Hope Safe Haven Organization. We have companies or organizations like Lackfield Educational Center. We have people, we have counselors, we have psychiatrists. We have psychiatric clinics and hospitals, Botswana, Princess Marina Psych, University of Botswana. That's where people can find help. But if we don't take out the educational campaigns back to the people to know where we are, to know where we are situated, it's still gonna not work for them because they wouldn't even know where to turn to. We have churches, but now, churches are now addressing they are not addressing the things that are there physically. It's all about spirituality. We over spiritualize everything, even things that need common sense. We over spiritualize them. My son is using drugs. Please, Pastor, help me and help my son. What would be needed from you? It'd be up your tithe, up your givings, up your this, up your that, up your seed, up your that. Can't we pray freely to help people without defrauding them, without embezzling? Now people have lost hope. It's only those who know where to find help that are able to do so.
How was it like? How was the feeling now when you're clean?
Wow. You know, there would be those withdrawal symptoms. It's a painful situation. It's a painful thing. You'd get sick, literally. You just get sick.
Yeah. What kind of sickness is that?
You'd have nausea. You'd start to sweat. You'd start to shake. But if you don't have the willpower to become clean, if you don't have the willpower to be that change, if you don't have the willpower to be that transformation, and if you don't have that family support, you're still going to fall back again.
Yeah.
But I decided, God, I re-established my relationship with you. I started going to church. I started working actually at church. And fortunately enough for me, the church that I'm associated with was moving from where it was. It was in a homestead, but it was now going to the church plot. It was being built now. Yeah, that's where actually I put all my time, all my efforts, and my everything. And apart from the walking, because in the walking, the 2015 walking, I now became accustomed to eat well, to drink water normally like a normal person, to wash like a normal person. And the walking itself, I understand now, it was a natural detox to me. It was a natural detox. Walking 465 kilometers. It was a natural detox. And when I came back, I knew that I had to safeguard myself. The thoughts will be there, the cravings will be there, everything will be there, but I decided I'm just gonna block everything out. That's when I decided now to go into schools. I developed a passion of talking about the condition that I was in. And that is what is really pushing me now. That is what is actually helping me now. Yeah.
So wasn't there that temptation of when you're facing your withdrawals, of saying, let me just do like just one hit here, like one joint, and then like that'll be the last one?
By the time I just cut out all the people that I did all those things with, I know that it was gonna be me and God.
And that has been the journey.
The journey has been so spectacular. Imagine waking up without a burning headache. How beautiful it is. Imagine at times you think you have super thoughts, you think beyond your comprehension. You know, you can eat to your satisfaction. That's a good feeling. This is my 7th year now. And on my 4th year in courtship, I got married. Now, you know, things that were stagnant start to move. The rusted cogwheels of life become re-oiled. You know, you start to look at life differently, from a very different perspective. So the feeling of being sober and clean for such a time, 7 years, still can be destroyed by just a little thing.
Okay.
So I am safeguarding that. I don't want to be within earshot, within a close range of any triggers that might occur to me. So I pass my time by going from one school to another, talking to people, going to churches, hosting campaigns and workshops, and associating with the relevant people who are actually supporting my cause. People that I can phone and talk to about any things that I felt were much more or weighing me down. You understand? And my family is supporting me in all the angles. My wife is supporting me too in all the angles, because we even put together this organization called YOSHO, Youth of Hope Safe Haven Organization, me and my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a few days ago, I read that DMX is in a critical condition.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Yeah.
Via social media and stuff.
Because of drug overdose.
Yes.
And this is someone who has been taking drugs for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And then would go to rehab, you'd come out, you'd be okay, you'd be clean, and then he goes back to drugs. Like what makes, and then like he also starts preaching, like saying, "Oh, I'm born again" and stuff like that. So what leads to someone having such a pattern of going to rehab, coming out clean, and then they fight that addiction, they go back to taking drugs and stuff like that, to the extent that they even overdose, but they'll be knowing that the overdosing is not good.
Yeah, like I said before, this is personal. Being clean and not being clean from drugs is a personal thing. And again, it depends. What kind of people do you associate with? And what kind of engagements are you within? He's a music artist. He's my icon.
Yeah.
And when I started using drugs in my heydays, I felt that was the lifestyle. So for him being in and out of rehab, I really don't know, because he is there, I'm here. I am thinking that some rehabs are not good. They may be places again where business is being catered.
Yeah.
Where drugs are being supplied again. And when this person goes out, they continue actually what they never stopped in.
Yeah.
Or maybe when they get out, they are not accepted. They feel unworthy, they feel invaluable, they are not valued, so they start going back again. And like we say, the triggers again, the places that you visit, the people that you associate with, they may be the triggers again. Yeah.
So triggers play.
It's a very complex thing. It's a very complex thing. Being clean, falling along the way, it's a very complex thing.
Okay.
The relapse. Relapsing can be caused by anything, either too much excitement, whereby maybe there's a party and somebody is sniffing. Then you tell yourself this line, it won't hurt a fly. It won't hurt a fly, yes, but it's gonna hurt you because it's taking you back deeper to where you came from. Yeah.
All right. So I hear you've been given land to build a rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of the first rehabs in the country, right?
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Yeah.
So just briefly touch on that and tell us about this rehab issue, and which stage are you on at the moment regarding the building of the rehab?
In 2018, after my wedding, I approached the village authority in Madrid. That I felt like we needed land to establish a rehabilitation center that would be a one-stop shop for all these things that we see in our community that are not being addressed fully. We were actually given land at the Konya village in the Khatlin district to start working on the rehabilitation center. But yes, as of now, we've already written or filled the forms for the land board now to come and fully award us the land. So for now, because of the COVID and everything, we are still at that stage. We are just there. We are just caught up there waiting for the land to be allocated to us officially. But with the Dukhosi and the villagers, during the Khotla meeting, after the Khotla meeting, we were actually taken to measure the land and stuff that same day.
Okay.
Then the Dukhosi helped us by putting all the formulations together, and yeah, we are waiting to be called and to be awarded the land officially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as someone who's fighting drugs, how's the drug game going on at the moment?
The drug trade in Botswana is growing every day. It is growing every day. It's growing every day. Why am I saying this? I measure this by the schools that I go to. the number of young people that are caught up in the web trap of drug use and drug abuse and drug addiction, it grows every day. And it's not always that you'd read in the news about drugs, that you'd watch in the television about drugs. It's very rare. Drug issues are not fully addressed in our country. It's only people like us who are trying. I know there have been organizations before mine. Some of them have given up because there's no support. But it always starts within. Some will just go out, not because they were involved at some time, but only because they felt they had to make a difference. I am fighting this because I was once a victim. And I am doing this because as a father, I am trying to clear a passage for my son. Because if it is not me, who is going to help him navigate positively and fully in this chaotic life if it is not me? So I'm going into all these schools and into all these churches only because I want to see that change so that it would favor my son when he grows up.
Also, just going back to the previous question, was it that it's difficult for drug busts to take place full time in Botswana?
For drug busts?
Yes.
One thing that I suspect, and I might be right, I might be wrong, within the service, either of the police or these organs, law enforcement organs, there would always be people that are being paid through the proceeds of drugs. So instead of acting on drug busting, they are going to do the inverse. They are going to talk to the people they are going to be busting to be prepared and remove everything or hide or just run off so that they won't be caught.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember there were times when the Botswana police was running around catching people, only marijuana people. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
While drugs like cat is around, drugs like crack cocaine is around, heroin is around, cocaine is around, ecstasy is around, all these drugs are around.
Mm.
What is it that is impossible for them to catch people that are using the ABBA or that are, working with these drugs?
Yeah.
It's only because some of them are in the payroll. They will always alert these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said before, this is a very dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game. Yeah.
All right. So in closing, what can you say to someone who's suffering from addiction and they want to fight it?
Let me start with somebody who has never used.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start.
Mm-hmm.
Never ever dream of even starting.
Mm-hmm.
Know your associations very well. But for a person who is stuck right now, seek help. And the first help is yourself. If you can't try yourself and give out the cry of saying, please, I need help, I am having this kind of a problem, there's nobody who's going to know what you are going through.
Mm-hmm.
They are only going to speculate.
Yeah.
They are only going to have assumptions about you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't cry out, there's nobody who's going to know what you are going through.
Yeah.
We are only going to say depression, but it's depression that is self-induced.
Yeah.
Because the more you are craving your drugs, the more you get depressed because all the troubles that you were trying to run away from come flooding back.
Uh-huh.
And that's where now people start being suicidal and everything. The prominent thing is to stand up and say, please, help me.
Yeah.
If you don't communicate, there's nobody who is going to open the floodgate of help towards you.
All right. Mr. Chiwed, it's been nice having you on the 20th Avenue podcast.
Thank you so much.
The best podcast in Botswana.
Yeah, I believe that one.
Yeah.
I believe that one.
Yeah.
It's one of its kind.
It's one of its kind.
It's one of its kind.
Yeah, and we're hoping to have another conversation with you when you're now officially opening the Rehab Center.
That will be so perfect. That will be so good.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week. Check us out next week with another blazing show. It's a wrap.
Thank you.